Hi everybody, my name's Kay. You're watching Amidst the Gray, and today I am going to be walking you through my year ahead reading for 2023 and how I intend to work with this reading in a, shall we say, layered fashion. Let's do it. I'm having a bit of a sense of deja vu at the moment because in my first video, my very first video that I posted on November 4th, I was wearing this same bathroom and my Hufflepuff scarf because on that day it happened to be pajama day at my school. It was our first spirit week of the year, and when I filmed that video that day, it was pajama day. Today, it is the last day before our winter break begins, and we usually have a spirit week during that week. We did this year, and today happens to be pajama day. Besides the last day of school, pajama day is pretty much my favorite days of the year. They're so comfy. The downside is that I'm kind of in that mindset of cozy sleepy all day, and it's it's sometimes kind of hard for me to, get up and get going and get motivated when I'm in my comfy cozies, but it's still worth it. I think the first order of business to take care of is just to let you know that I will be posting links to several relevant videos that I will be referencing throughout this process. My card of the year is the driver for my year ahead reading. And I did a card of the year video. In fact, I made it a tag. So I will be, and there's information in that video that I feel is relevant to what I'm doing here. So I will link that video. I will also link my standout decks video, because in that video, I essentially recreated my year ahead reading that I did for 2022. And that will be relevant as well, just because of how the reading for 2023 is going to differ from that reading. So I will also link that. In addition to content that I have done, I am going to link an entire playlist by Kelly from Truth and Story, because if I remember correctly, she has a Wheel of the Year playlist that's kind of consists of content relating to year ahead or Wheel of the Year kind of readings. So I will link, and when I kind of started in this process, I found that her content to be extremely helpful. So I will link that playlist. And I'm also going to link another video by Kelly that's relatively recent that she did about finding and working with patterns in readings. I loved that video. That video is actually one of my most favorite things of anything kind of for this last little chunk of the year. And I watched it, and the entire time I was just going, yep, just because I resonated with what she was talking about so much. That aspect of working with patterns is going to be key in how I carry this reading out, how I pull the cards and how I work with the cards throughout the year. So I'm going to link that video as well, because it's... Finally, I will link a video that I actually just found this morning from Kyra Getchell about year ahead spreads, and Kyra's perspective on seasons and kind of that seasonal approach very much resonates with my own. And I always like seeing how other people who read tarot do, if they do year ahead spreads, how they do them, and kind of their perspective for how they create their own year ahead spread and how they intend to work with it throughout the year. So I will link Kyra's video as well. I'm filming this intro on Friday, December 17th. I will be doing the actual reading on the winter solstice on December 21st. So when that day comes, I'm actually going to do my personal reading and film the process, and what you see is what I'm going to be working with. So today it's the 17th. I will be filming the actual reading on the 21st. Okay, I think that's everything information-wise, so let's start laying things out. Hi everybody. Happy solstice, whether it is winter or summer for you. I hope it is a lovely and enjoyable day for you. The first thing I think I would like to do is pop in a visual of the year ahead reading that I did for 2022, because the reading I'm about to do is going to be a bit different than this one. So last year's reading consisted of my card of the year in the center, which was strength. I had an 11-2 personal year, and my preferred position for at 11 is strength. So strength was my card of the year. Essentially, this reading was an 8-season year reading that followed the wheel of the year, where you had the 4 main events of the equinoxes and the solstices, and then as well as the cross quarters. The main difference between my reading that I'm going to do for 2023 and last year's reading is that the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of this year's reading is going to be a card for just the 4 main seasonal events. So that would be the winter solstice, the vernal or spring equinox, the summer solstice, and the autumnal equinox. So just the 4 kind of main umbrella seasons for the year. As I mentioned in my intro, this is going to be an extremely layered reading, and I will be adding to the initial base layers as the year progresses. In addition to the main cards, I will also be pulling some cards for Capricorn season, because today also begins Capricorn season. For reference, the decks I used for my 2022 reading were the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck and the Way Home Tarot. Okay, with that bit of context, let's get to my 2023 year ahead reading. I am using the Tempest Tarot for the tarot portion of this reading. It's by Tarot by Maisie. You can find her on her website. I'll try to remember to link that below. I've spent the better part of a week just handling this deck. I've shuffled it numerous times. I've just kind of run the cards through my hands. I've looked through them just to get kind of prepared for what I'm about to do. With any deck that I use, regardless of the reading or the system, I side shuffle it 6 times. I love the number 6. It's my life path number. It's very important to me. There's really no ritualistic reason why I flip the deck each time I shuffle it. It's mainly just to kind of spread the wear and tear and the handling evenly across the surfaces of the cards. I am nothing if not practical. Once I complete my 6 side shuffles, I just spend a moment holding the deck in my hand. I take a deep breath, and then I put the deck face down on the surface on which I'm working. I then cut the deck into thirds. 3 is also an important number to me. I then gather the center pile. I put that pile on top of the left pile, and then I gather those 2 piles and put them on top of the right pile. And then I just sit with it for a moment, or just for however long I feel I need to. I have this thing about the bottom of the deck. I always have to look at the bottom of the deck. I did this last year for my year ahead reading, and I wanted to incorporate the bottom card somehow, and I decided that that bottom card would sort of be an energy to keep in mind as I go into the reading. For me last year, it was the Ace of Swords. This year, for me, it is the Ten of Wands. You'll see me take my notes out and scribble in them from time to time, just because sometimes there are things I just want to get written down before they leave my train of thought. And my first thinking for the Ten of Wands is kind of something to keep in mind is I don't have to worry about taking in the entire reading at once. And that's very appropriate for kind of how I intend to approach what I'm doing. Once I sort of get settled in with that bottom card, what I will then do is start looking at each card underneath that one by one until I find my card of the year, which for this year is the Hangman. And there it is. It was quite close by. Once I find my card of the year, I will just sit for a moment and just kind of take it in. I then take it off the bottom of the pile and I put it face up in the center, because that's going to be the driver. It's the center of the reading. After that, I will turn the deck kind of back over and start placing the cards that were underneath my card of the year in their appropriate positions. So there I have 2 of Swords for winter, 2 of Pentacles for spring, and I immediately notice the 2 twos right in a row. Then I have the 5 of Swords for summer, and then the 6 of Coins, or Pentacles, it is Pentacles in this deck, for autumn. Once I get all 4 seasons out, I immediately notice the absence of majors and courts. It's 4 seasons of numbered minors, and that's highly unusual for me. Majors kind of like to make their presence known when I do readings like this, and granted, I only did draw 4 cards, but still, on average, I would typically get at least 1 major, and in this case, that didn't happen, or a court. I also noticed the absence of cups and wands in the main seasonal energies, but water is a big presence with the Hanged Man, and I did get the 10 of Wands, which is that fire element as the advice to go in, but it's very heavily weighted in air and earth, which is interesting to me. I oiled my hands before the reading. I always do, and with this particular oil, but I felt like I just needed more oil on my hands. It felt like my body was absorbing everything, and it kind of goes back to that 10 of Wands where I just kind of felt like it's that taking in. I just felt like my body was taking things in, and my hands were taking in the oil. The oil is the Sham Pure Oil by Aveda. I will try to remember to link it below. It's my favorite oil, and I religiously kind of use it for whenever I do a reading. So the taking in and the absorbing, I'm kind of relating that back to the 10 of Wands as kind of just that absorbing and to take it in or not. The next layer I'm going to add is an animal energy for each season, and I had intended on using my animal allies 1 and 2, my big combined Jessica Swift mega deck, because I had used the Wild Unknown last year, but I really felt called to use the Wild Unknown animal deck again, and it does have the elemental references up top, and I kind of feel like I need that as another layer. So here again, I'm side shuffling my Wild Unknown deck 6 times, getting everything situated. I will then put it down just as I did the tarot, and I will cut that deck into thirds just as before, gather it up in the same way, and I will not look at the bottom card, and I will take directly from the top for each season. So here I have the Dragonfly for winter, the Golden Egg, which is kind of like a major because it has that ether element. And those pentacles kind of remind me of eggs, kind of entwined. And then I have the Hawk for summer. Hawk energy's kind of been making its presence known to me lately, and that was kind of a pleasant surprise for me to get that. Hawk for summer and Peacock for autumn. I immediately notice the presence of winged creatures and the air element, aside from the Golden Egg, which is ether. All 3 other elements for the animal cards are the air element. And I talked in my my annual perfections video about how my activated house currently is my 6th house, in which is Libra, and Libra is air. So that air element might be a very important energy for me for this year. I then just sit for a few moments and just kind of look at the reading as a whole, but not getting, too preoccupied with everything like that 10 of Wands is kind of maybe suggesting that I do. Another thing I notice about my spring placements is that eggs are a very prominent symbol for spring. And so that kind of fertility aspect that the egg represents, I'm pointing to the air elements because I'm kind of noticing that, but that fertility aspect of the egg in relation to spring might be something key for me to consider. It also suggests to me maybe a bit of an incubation period as well, and the 2 is a very receptive number. I'm also considering the peacock and how out of all of these winged creatures, it has the, I guess, smallest capacity for flight. They can cover short distances, but they're not long range flyers like the hawk would be, and maybe even the dragonfly. Already, these numerous patterns are showing up, and I am here for it. Next order of business is to remove my spring, summer, and autumn cards because I just want to take a look at my winter cards because December 21st is the beginning of winter. So for me, it begins kind of a personal new year. It begins the winter season and it begins the Capricorn season aspect of winter. And so I just kind of want to sit with my winter cards, and I notice the swords and the wings kind of look really similar kind of in shape. I need to sit with that a little while longer, but that resemblance of kind of that fanning out really made itself known to me, as well as air with air. Now that I've sat with my winter cards, I want to add yet another layer, this time with an oracle deck. And I was really feeling the push to get out my vintage wisdom. I just felt like that was going to be the deck that I would use for this. My purpose for this deck is that the vintage wisdom is a very kind of simple keyword deck. And I love these keyword decks. They're so versatile and just really easy and simple to work with. And so I decided, instead of drawing tarot for each zodiac season, I'm not working with months. I'm working calendar months. I'm working with zodiac seasons this year, and I'm really excited about it. I decided, instead of a tarot energy for each zodiac season, I want what I call an anchor card, which is essentially just a simple keyword or phrase to kind of contemplate during each zodiac season. So starting at the top, I have my card of the year, which is all encompassing for the entire year. I have my tarot and my animal cards, which encompass the next layer of the winter season. And now I'm going to draw an anchor card for Capricorn season. So that's the next layer down. And when I see this card, I point and give kind of an exasperated sigh because patience is just, it's a thing for me. And my last year's year ahead reading, my tarot card for winter was temperance, and there is an element of patience in temperance. So now I'm taking in all of the layers. And then I just kind of put that down to kind of get a look at it here. Upon closer inspection of the patience card, I notice the little child figure has wings. So there are a lot of wings in my reading, kind of overall, in the bigger layers as well as the more short-term layers. Next deck up, yet another layer, is the Wisdom of Hafiz Oracle. This is a deck that offers kind of that simple, practical, actionable advice. You know, there's a verb in there that will kind of give you some guided direction or just something to keep in mind. My purpose for this deck is, at the beginning of each decan of each zodiac season, I will draw an advice card for that decan. And I'm only going to do first decan Capricorn because second and third have not come yet, and I'm not going to do that until that time comes. I intend to do an entire video on decans and how I'm kind of approaching decans and working with decans this year. What I'm going to do now is move my decan card down and to the left slightly because I'm going to put a couple of placeholder cards from the Wisdom of Hafiz in the middle and on the right, just to get an idea of the general shape, because it's relevant to my card of the year. My card of the year from the Tempest Tarot, the Hangman, is an upside down trident, and if you look closely at the shape, it's essentially a staff with 3 prongs. For me, those 3 prongs represent the decans. The base layer cards are the staff, and the advice cards are the decans. I felt a little nudge to go into the guidebook for this Trust Your Wisdom card, and I found this sentence that says, trust the experience and the wisdom that has gathered in your body. And that is, it's very much something that working with my body as an intelligent entity has been such a thing for me, especially since discovering human design. And then I looked at the card even further and noticed it's another bird. It's another winged creature, this time an owl. I'm then going to put this card down and go grab my planner just so I can show you what I did. Sneak peek. I have a video coming. I'm in the personal year 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. And this Hanged Man has 3 prongs. It's just that representation of the number 3 is the main reason why I chose this deck for that Hangman card, and also because the Hangman, is just not my favorite card. See my card of the year video for more information. I will be returning to this reading in subsequent videos throughout the year, but that is it for this one. So until my next video, take care and be well.